Bocas del Toro is a beautiful place.
There's fun there every day. How could there not be? It's a paradise.
So what's not to love about building your dream in a tropical paradise on your own personal island?
Sher just disappeared.
It's a dream and a nightmare at the same time.
You need to find my friend.
A lot of strange things are happening.
That's when I got that sinking feeling that bodies are coming out of the ground here and it's going to get bad.
This isn't even real. There was too many people.
This is the definition of cold-blooded killer. He had everybody convinced. He had everybody fooled.
Perched in the necklace of the Caribbean is an emerald cluster of islands known as Bocas del Toro.
It's a very, how you call it, apartado, away from everything, from the noise, from the pollution, everything. It's very natural.
If you like beaches, if you like snorkeling or scuba diving, then Bocas del Toro is it. If you were trying to get away, if you want remote, then that's the place.
43-year-old Sher Hughes and her 40-year-old boyfriend, Keith Worley, first traveled to Bocas del Toro on vacation.
I said, wow, a place like this really does exist. It wasn't touristy, there wasn't, a Club Med there. It was just very real and very natural and unspoiled.
They had stumbled onto paradise. Within a month, they packed up their old life in St. Petersburg, Florida, and began a new one in Bocas del Toro.
Many of us say, I wished I would have. Maybe I should have. She did. Moving to Panama was not a destiny that I think she had planned. It was just a coincidence.
They're a good fit in this out-of-the-way spot full of expats.
It's just laid back. There's not stress here. It's never a problem to show up alone anywhere because you're going to know everybody there.
There's a lot of Americans who moved on to Bocas, and I would say they are almost Bocas people already.
We're all Bocatized.
Even in paradise, you still have to pay the rent.
We thought we were going to go there retired, so we're not going to do a damn thing. We're just going to hang on the beach and make sure our cups are full and our smiles are on our face. That only lasts so long. 6 months a day, let's do something.
Sher had the money in the business sense, and Keith was a builder. So he could clear land and make things rise out of the jungle. On Isla Cadenero, they bought a piece of property and then built a small hotel designed to be a rental. That was the Casa del Sapo.
And she didn't stop there.
Siempre salía en su bote.
She would go out on her boat to see what she could find. With luck, she would find places, good places, and she'd buy them. She acquired 4 properties. She'd planned to develop them and grow her business. But the one that she liked the most was Cauchero.
She had just come home one day and she said, I just found an island. I said, okay, good for you.
On the surface, it looks like they figured it all out. They really had found paradise.
That was the dream. I mean, that was really what we couldn't even imagine, that we could own our own little island and just wake up every morning and sit there with a cup of coffee. And it was unbelievable. You could hear the monkeys in the mist in the background, and, parrots flying by and toucans. It was just amazing.
The perfect place to tie the knot. The icing on the cake for their fairy tale life.
Sher and Keith made the perfect couple. Whether it was Keith's handcrafting of the decks or Sher's flowers that she planted beside it, it just seemed like the right thing. They made it beautiful.
It was definitely a coordinated effort to make our dream come true. We both were so hooked and happy to be there.
Sher's island was everything she wanted. She said, I found my paradise.
But Bocas del Toro isn't all cocktails and sunsets. Living together day after day on a small island, 45 minutes from town, takes its toll.
Come back and let's finish the conversation.
After 5 years, Keith moves out.
When, the wheels come off the wagon, it's hard for everybody. We realized we needed some time apart from each other. A little test, separation.
She was devastated. Absolutely devastated. But she kept hope. She kept hoping they would get back together.
Wishful thinking. Within a few months of moving off the island, Keith has found someone new, another expat American.
I think in her heart she could have forgiven whatever the problem was. She just wanted her life back. What she had worked so hard for and the happiness that she had was now gone.
Hey.
In March, Sher invites her sister Judy to Bocas for the first time, a welcome distraction from her breakup with Keith.
I want you to come, Judy. Please.
I had my passport, I got my plane ticket, I'm ready to go. And then I didn't hear from her. I'd email her and
Odd. She invites her sister to Bocas and then ignores her emails. Days later, postings appear on her Facebook page, but still no emails or phone calls to Judy.
the same pictures were posting. And I'd think, why is she posting that again? And I'd see that and I'd email her back, Sher, why aren't you answering me? Where are you at? Why are you posting this and you're not responding to anybody? We're worried about you. Where are you? I'm really getting aggravated, Sher.
In Bocas, Sher's friends haven't heard from her either.
I got really worried because I dialed her phone. It rang. She didn't answer. No one answered. I called Keith. His response was so cold.
Cold? According to Keith, that's exactly how Sher is treating him.
It was like, I met someone better than you, I'm leaving, goodbye. Okay, you're done, I get you, okay. I guess I'll F off then, whatever. It's like, holy crap. Well, then good luck. I hope you're happy. She just went somewhere else and got out of that small little town and out of that gossip loop and moved on.
Would Sher really do that? Ditch her friends and family and just take off?
Everyone started contacting everyone else, checking the friend list, emailing people through Facebook. Sher hasn't answered you either? She hasn't answered me.
10 days later, a big sigh of relief. Sher resurfaces. Sort of.
Me llegó un mensaje de texto del teléfono de Sher.
I got a text message from Sher's phone saying that she was leaving because her husband didn't love her anymore. She was on vacation. She didn't say when she would come back.
Keith was right. She's not alone. She's with a guy. Funny though, she doesn't mention his name.
She left on a sailboat with some guy. Lots of people pack it up and split for lots of reasons, especially for a married couple that moved down to Panama. Their marriage falls apart. One of them stays, the other one splits. That's actually a relatively common scenario.
Something wasn't right. She wouldn't do that to me. Sher knew I was coming. Why would she just go away and disappear? This just doesn't make sense. Nothing was making sense.
Come to think of it, those text messages don't make sense either.
I found it strange because she didn't normally send me such long text messages in English. They were always short sentences.
And there's something fishy about her activity online.
The emails that I got weren't from Sher. Somebody is on her computer.
Then, the messages stop. And a mystery begins. A mystery that will tear away this town's idyllic facade forever. The remote islands of Bocas del Toro are peppered with a lot of people from somewhere else. They come and go easily, but the way American Sher Hughes left has got a lot of people talking, and now worried.
She would have never just picked up and went off with someone. I mean, I know Sher was an adventurer, but It was too long of a time that went by. You know in your heart that something's just not right.
She wasn't a little wallflower or a person who was keeping to herself. She was a big personality with a lot of friends and a lot of visibility in the community. So when she fell off the face of the planet, then all of a sudden everybody goes, hey, something's not right here.
After a few weeks and still no word from Sher, a friend files a missing persons report with the local police.
They said, all right, well, there's an American woman who's missing. All right, where's she gone? They started asking around. People said, I don't know where she is.
The rumor started to say maybe she traveled. That was it. Like she has a problem with her husband, then she take off and...
So without having anything further to go on, they kind of just dropped it. They stopped looking.
After all, people come to this part of the world to lose themselves all the time. It's little comfort to the family 1,300 miles away.
What do you do? Who's your contact? I don't speak the language. How am I going to find my sister? Trying to get them to understand. They said people come over here because they don't want to be found. Are you sure she wants to be located? Are you sure she just didn't decide to go sailing as we've been told?
Out of desperation, Sher's family contacts the U.S. Embassy in Panama, and they put pressure on the local police to take a second look. This time, they dig deeper, and they start with Keith Worley.
Let's get through this as quickly as possible and eliminate me, because I understand the husband always did it, especially when you're dealing with a divorce or a separation. There's always, that implication. So I understood that, and I completely sympathized with it, said let's just eliminate me as fast as we can.
Around town, the Coconut Telegraph is buzzing.
He was cheating on his wife. Basically, was screwing her over. She was pissed. They were going to get divorced.
The whole infidelity thing is just too juicy to walk away from for a lot of people. The relationship sprung from us being apart was not the cause of it. People love to talk. It's never going to change no matter where you are.
At one time, Sher and Keith seemed like a match made in heaven. They met in 1993 in St. Petersburg when she walked into Keith's bar.
She bounced in the door and just lit up the room. She was just one of those personalities, big blue eyes, big blonde hair, amazing body, and she just came blowing into the bar and just took my breath away, just stopped her in my tracks. Wow.
Sher fell in love with Keith at first sight. He was a very handsome man, and she was a beautiful woman, another Ken and Barbie. She'd had a few boyfriends here and there, but there was just something different about this guy. I don't know if it was his smile or what it was, but she sure did fall. She fell fast.
Sher has brains, beauty, and a magnetic personality. In the late 80s, she left her home in Missouri and headed to St. Petersburg. There, she opened a sign business, and it didn't take long to get noticed.
She would get up and work on her signs wearing like short shorts and a bikini, and she's up there, this blonde, gorgeous woman up there working on the signs, and people would, well, look at that.
Her goal was $1 million. When I get to $1 million, I'm stopping, I'm leaving. She reached that $1 million mark, and she sold it and said, now we're ready.
Keith doesn't tell them anything new. The police make the 45-minute boat ride to Sher's Island. Maybe there they'll find some answers. It's deserted. Except for one thing.
She wouldn't just leave her dog. That was just the red flag.
My mom worried about Jack. She would feed him, but he wouldn't eat.
I knew that something was wrong.
Next stop, across the bay. Wild Bill's place, Villa Cortez. A bar where lots of the expats hang out.
For us, it was just jumping a boat, and it was a 3-minute boat ride to his dock. Nice little bar right on the water, so we'd all sort of go there for happy hour and dinner. 3 times a week, twice a week, and spend 4 or 5 hours there. And just go there and chat up the neighbors.
The parties in Bill's bar were very special parties. Unique parties.
You would buy beer, not for a group alone, maybe for everyone. Not the, yeah, come on, let's party. You want a beer?
The police hear the same story.
That Sher has broken up with her husband, that she's going to get a divorce, and she's gone. People are receiving text messages saying that she's on a sailboat and going across the Pacific Ocean.
No one seems to know a thing about this new man in Sher's life. Or at least they're not saying. But investigators do learn something new. This was the last place that anyone saw Sher before she sailed away.
People started to say, hey, you know what? I think she was making a deal with Wild Bill.
Wild Bill tells the police that Sher sold him her hotel in town, Casa del Sapo. A few days later, she called him from Panama City to sell him Cachero, the island owned by her and Keith. And then, as far as he knows, she left.
Well, there's no way she was going to continue to hang around and bump into Keith and be the one who was jilted, and there's the new Ken and Barbie. You know, there's no way she was going to live with that.
Maybe she did elope with someone new. But why sell everything to Wild Bill?
They were neighbors. They were friends. She would hang out at his bar. He knew that she was having problems with Keith. He knew that she wanted to sell her properties. Maybe I can just sell everything to Bill, cash out, and be gone. Okay, so now it's Bill's. So he says, okay, case closed. I know what happened. Everything fits together. It makes sense, so I'm done.
But not everybody is done.
Something wasn't right. Sher just was not the type of person to not tell anybody.
It's been 3 months, and there hasn't been one single word from Sher Hughes. Not even a call to her dad on his birthday. Not an email, no more texts, nada.
The friends and the family members always face the same initial struggle. It's a foreign country. It's a different language. It's a different system. How do you file a complaint? Where is the office physically located? I mean, the very simple things.
They need a man in Panama. Enter Don Winner, an expat and an investigative journalist who runs Panama Guide, a news website for foreigners living in Panama. He speaks the language and knows his way around the system.
My initial response was, there's a foreigner who's missing. Well, foreigners come and go out of there all the time, so it's like, so what? So I always like, okay, show me what you got. What do you got for documentation? What have you got? So she sent me a copy of the complaint. It's like, okay, so it's real. That's when I started my investigation. I started making phone calls and reaching out and talking to other people. And one of her very good friends said there's no way that Sher would leave without having a big goodbye party, with having all her friends over and having a big hoo-ow going, I sold all my property and I'm leaving.
It's all very strange.
If Sher had left on a sailboat, the sailing community knows this, that they have to check out with the Panamanian authorities. And I was able to quickly verify that Sher Hughes' passport had not left the country.
The more Don Winner digs, the more he realizes that evil has found its way into paradise. Bocas del Toro, the perfect place to disappear.
It's at the end of the food chain and then take 2 more steps, so it's way the hell out there. You can just literally let your hair down and do whatever you want.
Don Winner finds out that Sher Hughes didn't sail away with another man. She hasn't even left the country.
They would go through immigration, and they would be registered as having left the country. So if she had left that way, then it would have shown up in the database.
Maybe Sher wanted to slip away under the radar. But that's a risky venture in Panama.
In my mind, I didn't think that Sher had left and gone somewhere else. My heart told me that Sher was no longer with us.
Sher's not the only one who has disappeared from this sleepy island town. A 58-year-old antique dealer, Bo Easler from Santa Fe, New Mexico, left abruptly 4 months before Sher.
He was not quite the social butterfly. He was not a drinker, not a partier, didn't do drugs, didn't go to the bars, didn't hang out with that crowd. He basically kept to himself and just went about his business.
Oh, Bo was an odd man. He was, quiet, and he hated Bocas. He was not happy here. And for him to just up and leave without saying goodbye to anybody doesn't surprise me at all.
Bo Easler was sandy, Cher's good friend's neighbor. He had no family, really, or probably only 2 or 3 people knew what was going on with Bo. He pretty much kept to himself.
Besides leaving town so abruptly, Sher and Bo have something else in common. Winner discovers they'd both sold their property to Wild Bill just before they left. Bo has been talking about wanting to sell for a while, and Bill is always looking for new properties and investments.
I can't believe it's ours.
When people said, where'd Bo go? Bill just said, oh, I bought his house and he left. I don't know where he went.
Get that one up right over here.
So now he's trying to fix the property up to sell it.
I don't want any...
Bill wastes no time in making Cher's hotel, Casa del Sapo, his own as well.
He was able to move in, take over. He fired the woman that was working for Sher as the local caretaker administrator of the property, and basically just said, get out.
Come on, go.
Put a sign up front saying he owned it. Use the properties, rent the properties instead of the Casa del Sapo, it's Casa Cortez.
Bill said that he had purchased everything. We signed a confidential agreement, so I can't tell you anything about the details of this sale. She'll be back. You can have a conversation with her then. I know for sure that Sher would never sell the island. We hadn't filed for divorce yet. We weren't legally separated. We hadn't been talking to attorneys. So it just didn't come close to making any kind of sense to me. I had lots of questions for her when I was going to see her, but you'll just have to wait till she comes back.
Let me give you a beer.
To add insult to injury, Bill makes himself at home, throwing one of his signature parties on Cher's island.
That party was not successful. Everybody kind of thought it was a really weird vibe.
Estaban todas las fotos de Sher.
All of Cher's photos were in the rooms. Everything was just as she had left it. If you buy something, why would you keep the pictures of the previous owners?
Ya me vendí.
So it was beyond spooky, yeah.
That's when the Coconut Telegraph starts up again. And this time, the topic of conversation is Wild Bill.
Bill dealing with my wife and that property, and now Bo, he's suddenly not around. There's a story wrapped around it, and he's gone. All these things just, gelled at the same time, and I just said, I just know that he has something to do with this.
And that's when Keith turns to Winner for help.
When I first talked to Keith Worley on the phone, I convinced him. I said, you got to come to Panama City. You've got to file a complaint, and your complaint has to be specific. And it can't be a complaint for a missing person. I think this is what happened. Go investigate it.
Tourists and foreigners drift in and out of Panama on a regular basis. They need more to get the police to listen.
I know he has an AK-47 because I live very close to him, and I hear automatic weapon fire come from his property.
Just basically showing off that I've got a machine gun. And everybody in Panama knows that if you got an AK-47 and you're a private individual, that's illegal. You can't own them.
That grabs the attention of the DIJ, Panama's version of the FBI.
This is something that we wanted to know, why he had that weapon. Is he helping guerrillas? Is he helping drug dealers to pass on drugs? He was doing what? We wanted to know more about him.
4 months after Cher's disappearance, Panamanian law enforcement officers execute a search warrant on Wild Bill's property.
When they get there, nobody's home.
It's not your typical hacienda.
He was into all of this Nazi, German, SS. He had a helmet that had the SS symbol painted on it. A jar full of gold teeth. Oh, this guy's beyond twisted. I mean, a bunch of really creepy horror movie stuff. All of it indicating that bad things happened.
They saw that Cher's purse had been dumped out on the floor, and all, her ID was there and some credit cards. And Keith identified them and said, this is Cher's stuff.
They started turning up things like Cher's passport, Cher's cell phone.
And documents from a bunch of people, including Bo Easler, the 58-year-old American who supposedly sold his property to Wild Bill 4 months before Sher did. No sign of Bill or his wife Jane. But outside, pacing back and forth, is Cher's dog Jackie. It's a mile across the ocean from Cher's island. What is he doing here?
Every time they would take Jackie, the dog, back over to Cher's house, the dog would jump in the water, swim a mile in open ocean, go back to Bill's house, and he wouldn't leave. No matter how many times they would drag this dog back, he would always go back to Bill's house.
And finally, one of the policemen said, I think this dog's trying to tell us something. So they followed him.
One investigator questioned some of Bill's workers on the property.
Investigador, haciéndole pregunta a uno de los trabajadores.
The investigator asked one of the workers if they had done any jobs around there, if they saw anything strange. They said yes. He'd asked them to dig some holes behind the mountain.
There's a garbage dump up there where they would dig a hole, and that's where they would put the trash and cover it up with dirt. They might have searched the garbage dump eventually, but maybe not on that day. They were in the process of searching the house. But then there's this big dog going, follow me, follow me.
They dug and dug. Then they dug some more with the pick, and they struck a blue tarp.
Senor Ward, come here, please.
That's when I got that sinking feeling that bodies are coming out of the ground here and it's going to get bad.
In a remote corner of Bocas del Toro, in a shallow grave and hidden under a pile of garbage, a horrible discovery. A female body.
Sher had been in the ground for 3.5 months, and she was, I'd say, 30% decomposed. And again, you spend, over a dozen years with somebody, you know what you're looking at, even if it's as horrible as you could ever imagine. Clothes, her hair, there's skin on her face. It was still there. Your teeth are there, and that smile, so. Yeah, tough day.
Keith called me. He called me and told me it was Sher. There were so many emotions all at once. It was overwhelming, too strong, and so sad.
Hello? My sister Diane told me that they found Sher's body, and I dropped the phone and just started screaming. And my husband, of course, what's wrong? And that's all I could say was they found Sher's body. And I went outside and I stood on my front porch and I screamed to the heavens. It's not true. Not Sher. Not Sher. And I felt so numb.
What this means is Sher never left Bocas. There is no mystery man. Whoever killed her most likely sent the messages to throw everybody off the scent. At the site, the horror continues.
They asked the workers if he'd had them dig any other holes. They said yes, 2 years earlier.
There, buried beneath another pile of rubble, 2 more bodies, even more badly decomposed.
Bo had very distinctive curly hair, and he was mostly skeleton, but I knew it was him.
The third body is more difficult to identify. It's headless.
At the gravesite, sights and sounds and smells are just something that just don't go away. Can't imagine the things I saw.
Police have 3 bodies on their hands, all found on Wild Bill's property.
Now we've got a serial killer, and it's a manhunt.
And I knew that they will continue that. This is a way of life of a madman.
We sent out an international alert about this person, saying he was dangerous.
I think everybody was just blown away. I don't think anybody thought of him as a danger. I think it was just mostly shock.
I would never expect he would do something like that, really. And I think many people in Bocas also never expect he would do something like that.
He had everybody convinced. He had everybody fooled.
Wild Bill is really 30-year-old William Dathan Holbert, a native of North Carolina. He came to Bocas del Toro in 2007 with his second wife, Laura Michelle Reese, who calls herself Jane. Holbert left behind 3 children from his first marriage. He has a long criminal record and is wanted in 6 states.
Supposedly, one of his first crimes that he did was forge some paperwork and sell a house that he didn't own. down on the beach in North Carolina.
Bill and Laura evade arrest and flee to Central America. Once in Bocas del Toro, they start using the names Wild Bill and Jane Cortez. People see them as loud and obnoxious, but no one doubts who they say they are.
She was always perspiring when even you wouldn't be. She was kind of sweaty, wore a lot of the same clothes days in a row. We always considered her the odd one. You didn't see them in pairs that often, except for when you're at their bar and restaurant, and she'd be in the kitchen or sort of validating his statements in the back. Yeah, that's true, But yeah.
Everyone's on edge. It's hard to feel safe when there's a suspected serial killer on the loose.
Nobody knew where this guy was. There were people that were staying home with the doors locked, facing the door with a shotgun.
No one wanted to talk, especially the foreigners. They didn't want to speak. They were afraid he might come and kill them. Many of them abandoned their properties.
Everyone was talking about how they are tracking him, like to catch him and where he was. Some people say he went away with his boat. Some people said they take him out with a plane.
In this part of the world, it's easy not to be found. They could be anywhere.
It was my goal to put their pictures on every TV screen, on every computer, on the front page of every newspaper, to spread the word as hard and as fast to get them caught.
Autopsy results show that Sher and Bo were shot in the head at close range with a .38 caliber. The third body belongs to an expat named Mike Brown. His skull is missing, but he was known to have gold teeth.
Mike Brown, that's not his real name, by the way, he was wanted in South Florida for offenses related to drug trafficking and the kidnapping of a police officer.
Brown, his wife and teenage son owned the property where the bodies were found until they supposedly sold it to Wild Bill.
They were good friends of ours. And we went home to Florida for Christmas. We left, came back, the Brown family was gone, and Bill and his wife Laura were there, and they said, well, the Browns moved out, they sold to us. I knew they wanted to eventually sell anyway, so it was plausible that they had sold their property during the 2 months we were gone, right?
Then, on a river 180 miles from Bocas del Toro, a boat tries to cross into Nicaragua.
There's a Nicaraguan army patrol in a riverboat. And they were like, halt or I'll shoot.
On board, authorities recognized the two passengers, Wild Bill Cortez and his wife Jane.
Just going for the day. No. They were sitting in a house that they rented in Costa Rica, turn on the TV, and they see their pictures on the news. Wanted serial killers, find these people. They packed their bags and split.
Bill and Jane returned to Panama in handcuffs, charged with the murder of Sher Hughes.
We brought him back, thanks to agreements we have with Nicaragua, to face Panamanian justice.
There was also a big feeling of relief. It's like, okay, he's in jail.
What's surprising, Wild Bill starts to talk. And if anyone thought this case was over, they were in for a big surprise.
He said that it was a hit for money, that Keith Worley hired him to do it.
In custody, Wild Bill appears surprisingly cheerful.
My name is William Dathan Hope. Yo soy de Estados Unidos.
His wife Laura, subdued.
Don't comment. Not comment.
Your name?
What is your name?
Laura Michelle Reese.
What time do you leave here in Panama?
I don't know.
After a day in custody, he breaks down and admits to killing Sher Hughes, Bo Easler, and Mike Brown, but says his wife had nothing to do with the murders, and that in fact, it was Sher's estranged husband, Keith Worley, who had hired him to kill his wife.
They charged me with, accessory to murder, that I had given him $2,000 down or something. I was going to pay him the other $45,000 after he proved she was dead. I said, well, I'm the one who actually filed the report against him. Who gets their hitman arrested? It doesn't make much sense now, does it? In the back of your mind, you're in a third world country. A lot of times you're guilty until proven innocent. They just lock you away. And my worst fear was, they're going to put me in the jail cell next to this nut. And he's going to have at me because I'm the one who put him there. It's so scary. It's so scary.
Usually when you get somebody, people will accuse everywhere. The fingers will be pointing everywhere.
Lo que sí nosotros determinamos en ese momento.
What we determined at this point was the ex-husband at that moment
En ese momento.
had no involvement in the crime against her.
Con los hechos que se investigaron.
Wild Bill confesses to killing the rest of the Brown family, the wife and teenage son. This brings the body count to 5 over 4 years that we know of.
Expuso el croquis.
He drew a sketch that showed exactly where the victims were.
Quizás estuviéramos buscando.
It might have taken us some time to find them because the area was more than 74 acres.
30,000 metros cuadrados de terreno.
In his confession, Wild Bill described Sher Hughes' last hours. He was well aware of the Sher and Keith breakup and invites Sher to his house for dinner to talk business.
Bill had asked her to stay because he wanted to talk to her about some property that she might have for sale.
She goes away with Bill. That was the last time anybody saw her.
Great's lost in these trees are.
As the night winds down, he suggests they walk to the back of the property to look at the wildlife. He knows how much Sher loves animals.
He said that he had just taken her into the woods behind his house and pointed out some monkeys in the tree and then shot her once in the back of the head.
At night, when you look up in the trees, you can see these sloth monkey type things.
Really? I've heard them, but I've never seen them before.
Cool. If you look really hard.
Puts her in the back of this ATV, takes her body up to the hill, puts it in the hole, covers it with garbage, covers it with dirt.
The next day, he orders his workers to put more dirt over the hole.
Bill killed all of his victims the same way. Michael Brown, Michael Brown's son, Michael Brown's wife, Bo Isla. He was just a coward and an ambush killer. I mean, this is the definition of cold-blooded killer.
What's up, man? You guys came in?
The motive of all this killing was greed.
Bill targeted people who were trying to keep a low profile. Bill killing Sher was a mistake. It was a huge mistake because she was a social butterfly. It was a departure from what had worked for him in the past.
William Dathan Hulbert and Laura Michelle Reese are currently awaiting trial charged with the murders of Sher Hughes, Bo Isler, and the Brown family. If convicted, they face up to 50 years in a Panamanian prison.
The justice goes very slow sometimes, but it gets there. Justice will prevail.
The anger is there. I've just had to let most of it go. I don't think he's justified to even be on this earth.
11 days after her body was found, a small group of family and friends gather on her island to bury Sher's ashes in the place she once called paradise.
Beautiful. You know, it was a beautiful day, and it was all the people that loved Sher, her sister, her aunt, you know, all her friends from Bocas, and put her ashes right there at the top of the island, and put a ling tree, a Chanel tree, on top of her. And it was a tough day, but I think that's where she needed to be. I think that it's kind of like the full circle for her to end up where she, you know, where she wanted to be, where she wanted to die. Just not so soon.
I think that Sher no is dead now. She lives in my heart forever. Yes.
I live every day remembering what she gave me, what she did for me, and how she made me happy.
And her just that beaming smile. And the day we chopped all the trees off the island and just put a stump across the top, sat there watching the sun go down, saying this is where home's gonna be. A special day.